Ladies and gentlemen, 3 things are certain in life: death, taxes, and the Dallas Cowboys choking in the playoffs. I honestly can't even believe what I watched, knowing that Dallas was going to meet their fate of losing in the first round basically the entire game after they went down 27-0. What would happen with Mike McCarthy? What would happen with Dan Quinn? What would they do with Dak Prescott? I mean, there's so many question marks, and you knew that the inevitable was coming. The Dallas Cowboys would ultimately lose this game. Jordan Love diced up this defense, and you can look at Dak Prescott's numbers. I know he had almost 400 passing yards, but come on, those were all empty calories in the fourth quarter when they were down 30 points. I've seen a lot of people in the media since the Dallas Cowboys lost talk about how they should fire Mike McCarthy, fire Dan Quinn, and potentially move on from Dak Prescott, and I think that has a lot of truth to it. I don't know how you could potentially be serious about winning a Super Bowl by keeping the same staff that's accomplished absolutely nothing the last 3 years. Mike McCarthy, since taking over the Cowboys, has gone 12-5 in all 3 of the regular seasons and has failed to reach a conference championship. Not to mention, you look at their schedule, all of their wins were against cupcake opponents for the most part. They got killed by San Francisco 42-10. They lost to Philly, they lost to Buffalo, they lost to Miami. Their only 2 good wins are against Philadelphia and then Detroit, and they should have lost to the Lions after the offensive lineman caught that 2-point conversion that the ref screwed up. But regardless, you consistently see this same cycle with the Dallas Cowboys every single season. They get the off-season hype. Everybody gets excited about this Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb connection, Micah Parsons on the defensive side of the ball, and how many studs they have on that end. Then they start to absolutely smoke some really bad teams. People get excited. Oh, this is their year. They can finally make a run at the Super Bowl. And then they get humbled by a team like San Francisco, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami. And then people get very worried. Oh, can this team actually win a Super Bowl? What are they going to do with Dak Prescott? Can he be a guy that leads them to the Super Bowl? And then they beat down on some bad teams again, and the cycle repeats itself. And then they eventually lose in the playoffs, like we've seen the last 3 years in the Mike McCarthy era, and so consistently with the Dallas Cowboys over the past few decades. Now, what seems to be the problem with the Dallas Cowboys? Because they always have good pieces, but they can never figure out how to get over the hump. Well, first of all, I think you have to look at the quarterback position. Dak Prescott has always been good in the regular season, and this year he played at an MVP caliber level during the regular season. But whenever it comes to the postseason, for some reason, it seems like the moment is too big for him, and he almost can't even handle the pressure of playing for the Dallas Cowboys with the amount of media attention that they get. In that first half, he looked absolutely pathetic. He had 2 interceptions, one that went for a touchdown. He should have had 2 more interceptions, quite frankly, that would have totaled 4. And they were fortunate to get that final touchdown with 1 second to go in the end of the first half that gave them some sort of life. But this offense looked stagnant in the first half. They couldn't do anything. And at that point, it was too late because Jordan Love was slicing up this defense. So where do they go from here? Dak Prescott is in need of a big-time contract very soon. They still have a good offensive line. They still have good pieces in the receiver room. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, who emerged big time this year. Do you try and trade for a quarterback? Do you try and draft a quarterback and hit the reset button? That seems like it would take way too long in this process. At a certain point, if you're an owner, a general manager, or even a fan of a team, you have to ask yourself, can the quarterback that you have take you over the hump and get you to the next level of winning a Super Bowl? And so often people are delusional and think that their quarterback can get them over the hump. And I think Dak Prescott is really in that situation where it's like, he might be able to, he might not be able to. And we've seen so many different times where he hasn't been able to. The moment's been just simply too big for him. And we've never even seen the Dallas Cowboys get to a conference championship. And I think there's a handful of quarterbacks in the league that can really get you over the hump. Obviously Patrick Mahomes, obviously Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson has proved this year that he can get them over the hump, making the AFC championship. Josh Allen, whether you want to debate if he can get you over the hump or not, made the AFC championship a few years ago. But I think it's been more of the team around him that's struggled to get over the hump. And the list really ends after that. So many guys trying to prove that they can get their team over the hump, and Dak Prescott's never been able to do it. Dak Prescott will always be an elite regular season quarterback. He'll be great at beating down on bad teams. Him and CeeDee Lamb will have a phenomenal connection throughout the regular season. They'll rack up great stats. But when it comes time to play in the big pressure games, when the media is talking about them, when they have to go play the dominant 49ers, they simply aren't good enough to get over this hump, and they never will be. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm moving on from Mike McCarthy. I'm moving on from Dan Quinn. And I'm trying my hardest to go get a guy like Bill Belichick. Shoot, at this point, I like Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh more than Mike McCarthy. You're crazy if you think that they can stay with the exact same roster, the exact same staff, and win the Super Bowl. They absolutely can't, and there needs to be some major changes in Dallas. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.